Very short, one-slide introduction about my company, TigerTMS. We are not a newcomer into hospitality by any stretch of the imagination. TigerTMS has been around since the late 70s, and over that time has continued its mission of developing software for the hospitality marketplace, primarily in the early years, interface and call accounting type applications to satisfy the needs of hotels to measure all that money that people were providing by making phone calls from the room. Nowadays that doesn't happen, but all of that sort of heritage of legacy development serves us well because we extend back all that time with all those various PMS integrations that we've developed. Anyway, fast forward to today, the company is independent again. I bought the company out from Mitel Networks in March 2020, which was great timing. Right at the start of the pandemic, I bought the company that specializes in software hospitality. Luckily to say that we've been okay. The last 20 months have been extremely rewarding. We've allowed us to focus on what we want to do, to sort of diversify from telecom type applications and take advantage of the strengths that we have in interface development and also produce the new solutions that I will show you today. Okay, so first, old and the new. The old and the new, the first one I'm going to talk about is the software architecture itself. And this is the old. We must start somewhere. We'll start from the old. This is a software architecture diagram from a well-known hospitality group from a certain vintage. And as you can see, the PMS is the all-powerful application that sits at the center of the architecture, and every other application is connected directly into the PMS. All roads lead to Rome, and the PMS, certainly at this instance, is the Rome at the center. So essentially what you have is a PMS directly connected to every other front of house application. This has been successfully sold by the majority of PMS companies for many, many years, since the advent of the modern PMS at the end of the 70s, early 80s. Let me just shut that door. This architecture benefits the PMS provider. It is extremely difficult within this architecture to replace a PMS. It's a big job. It's a big, big job. It also provides certain PMS organizations a regular income from the maintenance of all of those interfaces. You have to buy those interfaces in the first place, and then you have to maintain them. An interface, an API, is about 8 lines of code, and you're paying 20% of the cost of that interface on an annual basis. It's good business for the PMS companies. Two types of APIs. One is what I would call a traditional API, as evidenced by Opera, whereby basically you have to buy a license for each function that you're connecting into the PMS. For example, the TV, the telephone, internet, or whatever. All good, working well, used in many, many hotels around the world, but confirms that previous hub and spoke architecture I was talking about, where basically you're welded into the PMS system. Many of you will have heard of open APIs. These are more modern. Muse were the first to bring an open API PMS into the marketplace. And an open API allows you to sort of write to the Muse API to enable all functionality, all very good. However, it is still a proprietary API. You have to write to the Muse specification or whoever else is providing the open API. And therefore, application companies would have to write one to Muse, they'd have to write one to another open API, and so on and so on and so on. For those application vendors out there in the marketplace who want to address as many PMSs as possible, The actual sort of function of writing an individual different API every time is an overhead they cannot sustain. So, which brings us on to middleware. Middleware. The definition of middleware, according to the Wikipedia, is software glue. Software glue, I prefer to sort of call it software oil. It lubricates the machine. Essentially, APIs are just like languages, okay? One will be talking one language, and another application will be talking another language. What you need is a translator to basically enable one application to talk to the other. And on either side of the translator, there'll be a person speaking German to the application on the right, and there'll be somebody talking French to the application to the PMS on the left. The middleware essentially translates. That's what it does, and it allows one application to speak to another. And the benefit of middleware really is that middleware can do multiple translations at once. So now you have a PMS connected to every other application, but there's only one connection into the PMS, not several. Essentially, you're moving away from the hub and spoke architecture to a distributed architecture where middleware does its job. It basically is doing the connecting between all of the applications in the environment of the hotel, in the front house, really, of the hotel. So the PMS now connected to one connection to the PMS, but still connected to all applications. The benefit is that you can then add, remove applications at the speed that the hotel, that the business dictates, not at the speed by which the PMS company dictates. I was speaking to Marriott, it was, at recent High Tech, and it takes them 18 months to change an interface into their PMS. 18 months. Now, you can imagine 18 months is a long, long time in terms of software development, so that by the time you've got your interface ready for social media app X, it's social media app X plus 25 by the time you get that interface. You're always behind the curve. Another benefit of middleware is that it allows dual flag properties, and they are becoming very popular in the States, where you have maybe a Hyatt or two, different brands of Hyatt or Marriott or IHGs in the same building, occupying the same property. They can share resources with the different PMSs in the different hotels. So again, money cost saving. So to end the first part, the middleware benefits. It allows the hotelier the freedom of choice. It certainly reduces costs. It allows applications to do what applications should be doing, which is focusing on the features and functionality of the application and not worrying about the interconnectivity. Leave that to the middleware. It frees you up to sort of choose the PMS which is most suitable for your property, and basically will optimize the business and deliver better guest service. That's middleware. Okay. My water's disappeared. Okay, I'll carry on without my water. Somebody could get me a glass of water, that'd be lovely. Second, old and the new. A little bit more sexy, if I say so myself, than middleware. Middleware, okay, infrastructure, architecture, and all that good stuff. This is about mobile guest services, and during the course of this, there will be a little live demonstration for you to actually experience it yourselves. Okay, I hope you're all on the Wi-Fi. Without belaboring the point, the large groups within the hospitality environment globally have spent millions of dollars in developing their own guest apps. And this has engendered loyalty. I myself have the IHG Rewards app, and I use it to book IHG hotels wherever I go around the world. Great, get the points, fantastic. But the majority of casual guests don't want to download apps. Apps are very expensive to develop in the first place for the hotelier. And given the frequency of change of iOS and Android operating systems, very expensive to maintain. Every time there's a new release, you have to upgrade the app, etc., and so forth. Guests do not want to download apps. We have on all of our devices, I'm sure, many, many apps, the vast majority of which we hardly ever use. Another app for another hotel stay is not a good way of delivering the service or the information that you want about your hotel to the guest. So the question I pose is, do hotels really need to build apps anymore? Because they're hardly ever used by the guests themselves. So the 3 generations, as we see it, of mobile guest services started off around the millennial, proprietary hardware and proprietary software. That was then sort of taken over by apps into the app stores in the cloud, and you download the apps onto your own device. What we're saying now is that the age of the apps is coming to an end, and apps are now being taken over by progressive web applications, which are essentially enabled just by scanning a QR code. So, why a progressive web app? And the progressive web app, by the way, just initiates a web page on your phone. You'll see it in a second. As I said, guests are reluctant to download apps. There's the cost for the hotelier, obviously, of developing the apps in the first place. PWAs are instant. As soon as you scan the QR code, within a couple of seconds, boom, there it is. It's on your phone. It's also disposable. In other words, when you leave the hotel or you don't want to use it anymore, you just close the web page on your phone. So there's no residual application left on your device. It's sustainable, and today's all about sustainability and everything else and so forth. There is no development here at all, so therefore there's no sort of expenditure or energy sort of expended in developing the solution, and it will remove away from the hotel all of that printing of guest directories, and I don't know if anybody still does this, but you know, the guest directories and so forth. Why not deliver the information that you want to the guest's own trusted device? And nowadays, in this post-pandemic, I don't know whether we're post or not, but in these days and ages, the only device that everybody trusts is their own mobile phone. So how does it work? It is exactly like a web page building solution such as GoDaddy. You just sign in to the online manager. That's all you need to do. Sign in to the online manager, and you can do 3 things. You can obviously create your own PWA, such as the one there I'm showing from a very, very nice resort in Hawaii. There is a raffle afterwards for going to Hawaii. We will be running. Ticket costs are £10,000 each, by the way. But they developed that PWA, that iPortal, straight from using our online configurator. No additional development at all. At all. So you can create something like that, and whilst you're creating it, you see, what you see is what you get. You see what you're creating on the right-hand page of the screen. You can preview what you're creating on a variety of smartphones. If you've got an Apple 8 or iPhone 8 or an Android Galaxy, whatever, you can preview what's it going to look like on that particular handset. The QR code never changes. And this is an extremely important point. You create the iPortal, but the QR code never changes. So when you go back in to the configurator to add a button for Christmas or any other sort of special promotion that you're running, the QR code that you are displaying to your guests never, ever changes. The second thing that the online manager does is obviously manage. So for people with multiple properties, they can build one iPortal, then clone it across all of the others, should they wish to have the same look and feel at all properties. They can manage individual properties, change a button on one property rather than every one, so that the IT director for the group can have a holistic view of all properties, whilst the IT managers or general managers or marketing managers, more applicable I think for marketing people, can have a look at their own individual properties. And the final thing of the three things that the online manager does, which is fundamental for hoteliers, is reporting. You need to know how many people are using the solution and what they're using it for. In other words, total number of visitors, unique number of visitors, which device they're using, if you really want to know whether they're using iOS or Android devices, up to you. But crucially, which buttons are they pressing? What are your guests using the solution for? We have one IHG property in the UK. It's a 150-bedroom hotel. In the last 30 days, the rolling average is 2,350 unique visitors. Because they've embraced the technology, they've also embraced the way of promoting the technology to their guests. They have prominently displayed in the reception a big QR code with the strap line, everything you need, just scan here around it, and every single guest is basically going in, scanning it, and all of the information about the hotel, the information about the local amenities, and so on and so on and so on is given them there and then. So that's the manager. The guest experience. What is it? Everybody, the pandemic, QR codes, greatest comeback since Lazarus or whoever, right? QR codes, everybody's now familiar with them, and the great thing about QR codes is you can put them anywhere. You can put them in your advertising, in magazines, in websites. You can send the QR code with the booking confirmation, whatever you want. The guest experience, the guest journey for your particular property starts not when they arrive at the property, but when they first engage. An iPortal can be that gateway into that engagement. So everybody's got to use a device, and they scan the QR code. Instantaneously, the device is lit up with the unique iPortal solution for that hotel. Straight away. Giving all that information out about the features and the facilities that you have and everything else, all there, all good stuff. But at this stage, the person has not made a booking because they've got a particular question to ask about the firmness of the pillow because they've got a bit of a dodgy neck. So they can ask questions, communicate with you, and you can engage with your prospective guest in two ways. They can use iPortal to access the resident messaging app, which is already on the phone, and send a message to the hotel. At the hotel may wish to engage our enhanced messaging solution called iNotify. And what is iNotify? It's a contact center for messaging. So a message comes in, and that message, for example, if it's about a pillow, can be automatically routed to the housekeeping department. If the message comes in a language that basically, I don't know, Portuguese or something, that message can be routed to the person in the hotel who speaks Portuguese. Okay? So if it's a routine message, in other words, and the vast majority, 80% or something, so I read the other day, 80% of all queries of hotels are routine type queries, such as, how do I get there from the station or whatever, you can set up templates to automatically answer them. So there's some AI in here which will basically read the question and automatically answer it. How do I get there from the station? Automatic answer straight away. Messaging, as we all know, far more popular than voice nowadays. Everybody just wants to sort of ask the question, submit the query via a WhatsApp message, and that's it. Get the answer as immediately as possible. But we do offer another means of allowing the prospective guest to talk to the hotel, and that is good old voice. Voice can be done in two ways. We can either use the dialing capability on the phone itself, or to avoid any cost or any potential cost at all for the prospective guest, there is a technology called WebRTC, which essentially will be a free call, speed dial from iPortal into the hotel. It's a totally free of charge means of making a voice call, and it also supports video, which will be coming from us next year. So a video call from your prospective guest to the hotel. So that's what happens before they check in. Now, having successfully sold that person the room and so forth, they check in, and this is where middleware comes in. Our middleware, ILink, 40 years of development and everything else, connects iPortal to the PMS. And now additional functionality is enabled, allowing the guest to view their bill and do an auto checkout, should they wish. It also connects up to iNotify, so that any messages now received from that person is not received from their WhatsApp name, but received from their checked-in name and their room number. Mr. Smith, room 505. So again, offering the hotel the opportunity to offer an enhanced guest service. The final thing that iPortal does today is, there it is, app-less F&B ordering. Totally app-less. This is an app-less environment. We can satisfy restaurant ordering or external food outlets such as Just Eat, Deliveroo and so forth, or room service. So the guest again just selects the F&B button or the restaurant button or whatever the button is that you decide to call it. You may have multiple ones, and from there they can sort of order the food to their room or at the restaurant table. It is not, and I stress this, it is not a replacement for waiters or waitresses, but when you're having difficulty in hiring waiters and waitresses at the moment, then instead of 6 waiters and waitresses, you may be able to make do with 4 or 5. So it's a complementary service to F&B ordering. Next year, our plans are to introduce app-less door opening, okay, with iOS 15, which has just been released, and Hyatt are rolling out this to 1,000 of their hotels already. So app-less, no more downloading a key to open the door and so forth. It's all no download. We're also working with our TV partners to make the smartphone into a remote control for the TV. And the final thing that will be available next year is aircon and lighting control from your phone. Again, all without downloading an app, all available from just scanning a QR code. Quick word about the F&B ordering. We use, for those who are technically minded, we use a middleware called DeliverEct. That DeliverEct sort of interfaces into the POS. It's a real-time system. Whatever the inventory is on the POS, it is replicated on the smartphone. If you run out of steak, it will show you're running out of steak on the smartphone immediately. It's a real-time system. So the benefits to the hotel. I'll quickly run through these. Go. Okay. In comparison to building an app, This is so simple, so straightforward. It is not for IT people necessarily. It is for anybody just to sign in to the online configurator and build your own. Your look and feel, it'll support whatever branding you have, whatever fonts, logos you have, it supports the lot. You can have it looking however you want. Undoubtedly, because of the simplicity for the guest, there is a higher uptake than traditional apps. As I said, you know, and this was evidenced by, we attended a couple of shows here in the UK, and we were also at High Tech in Dallas recently. Every hotelier we spoke to did not want to go down the developing an app route. You do get two solutions in one. One, which is pre-check-in, which will drive incremental revenue to the hotel, start the guest experience, the journey, when they basically get the first iPortal from scanning the QR code in the magazine or on the website, whatever, and then they can be booking a restaurant table via iPortal weeks in advance of them arriving at the hotel. You are driving revenue collection from that point instead of the point where they actually enter the hotel. It is for multiple or single sites, obviously, and we have future plans to add to the functionality. It is the one QR code that you need. Many hotels we have encountered, big brands and small, have, over the course of the pandemic, had a proliferation of QR codes. There's a QR code for this restaurant, there's a QR code for the parking, there's a QR code for this. Consolidate it all down into one QR code to encompass all guest services. So, this is the example bit now, and hopefully you've all got phones, because if you haven't got phones, then all of what I've just talked about should have been a waste of time. Okay? So you have got phones, I'm making that assumption. Would you please get your mobile phones out and either scan what's on the screen, or there are cards on your tables, some iPortal cards, which have a QR code on them. And if you scan them, I will talk about it whilst you're doing your scanning. Okay, so this first example is a very simple example. It is unbranded hotel, green color, 2 buttons per row, so on and so on and so on. Just to give you an example, this was just knocked out in not a long time at all. But if you want to hit the guest chat button, there is a guest chat button there. That will open up the WhatsApp on your phone. And when it opens up the WhatsApp on your phone, you may, if you wish, send us a message, and the message will be received by my lovely assistant here, Suzanne, who will basically be able to sort of take your queries. So we're just making the point here of how easy it is for people to communicate with the Hosudo Hotel. As you can see now, Suzanne's phone is pinging away like mad. Okay? But that is a simple example of just how easy it is to engage with your guests. The second example, and again, I would you can, well, in that case, the technology works, which is great. The second example is the Jalapuna example. If you want to have a look at that one, again, no dev cost involved in this at all. It was just from our online configurator. Jalapuna wanted to have a carousel of buttons scrolling along the bottom. Fine. They wanted to promote the beautiful weather, the blue sky of Hawaii with their logo transparently floating over it. No problem at all. That's what they wanted, and that's what they built. That's what they built. We didn't build it for them. They built it themselves. Okay? And I think that's a very important thing. This is a build-it-yourself solution. It is only, before anybody asks, cost. It is sold on a subscription basis, and that's it. No upfront cost at all. At all. Subscription, you may choose a monthly or an annual. It's all on the website. We're very transparent about our pricing. That'll be me in a minute. Just one more point. I put this presentation together before this was released. This is now released. Is that some additional functionality we have now launched this month are very important again at the end of the guest journey to elicit as much feedback from the guest as possible about their stay, about the whole experience, etc., etc. So we have guest feedback capability within it, which is the same as the feedback you would give in an Amazon type situation. It's the 1 to 5 star type thing. Okay, you can put in your own questions. You can also get sort of free format responses should you wish. So the guest feedback, very, very important. We have introduced templates to help people start off on their journey. So instead of now, here's a blank piece of paper, do what you want. Here's a few examples. Do you want to copy any of these to get you going? That's no problem. And the third thing we've introduced as well is social media integration. You can have whichever social media buttons you want floating on the screen wherever you want it. One thing I didn't say, and I think pertinent to London hoteliers especially, it does support multiple languages. So you will see on the Halapuna example, if you've scanned that one, there is a little globe in the top right or top left-hand corner. If you click that, you will have the option to look at it in Japanese, English or Japanese. Lots of Japanese tourists in Hawaii. So it supports as many languages or whichever language you want. It's all there. So there we are. I think I'm on time, just before 25 past. Okay, which is fine. I'll just finish off. So what I've said before, say it again, repetition is good. No dev cost at all, subscription only. For the guest, no download. Total integration with back-end systems via our middleware. The guest journey starts whenever the first engagement is, really, and works through from there. It is sustainable, and it does address some of the labour shortages perhaps you're facing at the moment. It is what it is. It's PWA. This is the way that the market is going. I believe that there will be others out there quite shortly. Other app vendors will move towards PWA technology. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Our USP, if you like, is that we've been around for such a long time. I've been around for even longer. That we have that back-end integration all there. So whatever you have, we will be able to integrate with it. Thank you very much. Just to say that it's already award-winning. We're very proud of this award. And yeah, I'll take questions.
Shall I go through the questions on here?
Yes, first of all, if you like, yes. Thank you very much. And the answer is, it's on the website. We have 3 bands of hotels. We have small, medium, and large. You can pay monthly or you can pay annually. I think the price for a small hotel in the UK is £75 a month. All right? So your risk is 75 quid.
Will the presentation be made available?
I assume so. If anybody wants to drop me a line or anything, I can just give you a bigger stack than that. This is a curtailed stack, yeah?
Is there an option for guests to leave tips? I'm assuming that's on the FMB, which is the answer yes.
On the F&B, I didn't go through the whole F&B process there because of the interest of time, but the F&B, again, just to make a point on that, is there are many F&B solutions in the marketplace. Again, the advantage that we have because of our middleware is that when the person sits down in the restaurant, the F&B solution will be able to say, would you like to pay by card or charge it to your room? Now, if they select the charge it to the room option, our middleware ILink will do that authentication. We'll say, he's put his name in as Mr. Smith 505. Is Mr. Smith in 505? Yes, he is. Okay, he can charge the room. Okay, so we have that integration there, which adds to the F&B part of the solution. Yes, you can add tips. You can leave a monetary tip, or a verbal tip, or a text tip, if you like, you know, rubbish service or whatever you want to do, okay? So you can do both.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? If I knew that Mr. Smith was saying room 505, and I'm not Mr. Smith saying in room 505, and I download the QR, is there another check on top of that?
Good question. So this is quite common in films, isn't it? Where there's a person standing behind another person at check-in or check-out. I saw it recently in a film, and basically when the person at the front of the queue gave their details, the person behind heard all the details and went back to the check-in 5 minutes later to ask for the key that they'd lost or whatever. Can you get around that? Can our technology get around that? We do the check of the person according to the details they submit into the solution. Yes, we do. Could we implement others? If you've got any suggestions to make it even more foolproof, we'd take them on. But it's not verbal, so it's just typing in your name and your room number. Now, somebody would have to be looking at your phone to be able to elicit those details. Yeah. But I take your point, it's not 100%. What is 100%? Yeah?
I've got quite a few. We may not be able to get all through because we may have to go on to the next person, but I'll get through. Can you make this persistent, that is, not disappear from the phone?
If you keep your web page up, I've got web pages, like the BBC News is always on my phone, so you can keep it there for as long as you want. If you don't close the web page, it's always there.
How many languages can you pay through the app? Well, we just covered that, you can pay through the app. How many languages does it support?
As many languages as you want. Japanese, as you see in the Halapuna example, which has got a completely different character set, we support that. So we have an Arabic customer in Oman who have an English and Arabic version of it as well. So yes is the answer.
Has there ever been a reluctance from hotels to have this dependence on their Wi-Fi systems, or might be worried they need to replace their Wi-Fi in order to accommodate the solution of TigerTMS?
Okay. Well, whilst everything nowadays is going to work better and faster if you have a good Wi-Fi, a good sort of signal within your hotel, this solution does work over 3G, 4G, etc. It is just like accessing a website when you're out and about on 3G or 4G as opposed to accessing a website over super fast fiber Wi-Fi in the hotel. So it'll work quicker the better the communication media is.
You say it links to POS. Does it link to the kitchen printers, or does it need manual intervention to take it? It links to the printers.
It links to the POS, and whatever the inventory is on the POS, when the order goes through, it hits onto the POS, and if the POS is then set up to sort of print out the order so they can pick up the order and put it on the pass or whatever they do, then it could do that.
Can it receive messages in the web app similar to app push notifications?
Similar to app push notifications. The purpose of this solution, and we were being very careful about this, is that the hotel cannot initiate the conversation with the guest or the prospective guest. In other words, you can't broadcast out to your guests without them initiating the conversation first. Okay? So they have to initiate the conversation first, GDPR and all that good stuff, and then you can then communicate back to them. So you can send multiple messages to those who have subscribed in a way, in other words, made the first contact with you.
On the guest paying their bill, can you ask the guest to rebook? Can it make a reservation?
Up to you. Absolutely. Up to you. No problem at all. You can set that up. You can set a button to do that. You can set up a button to your reservation system to make it easy for the guest. You could have a guest feedback form at the end of which, you're 5-star satisfied. Here's a link through to your next stay with us. So it would definitely engender loyalty.
Trying to answer questions, no answer. If I haven't replied to you, I will reply to you after this. It's just I can't type as quick as they're coming in. So that's another is the presentation being shared. We'll make sure it is. We've got a couple left.
Anybody else with a verbal question? The old-fashioned verbal sort of way,
Do you have digital
if you're charging to the room, do we have digital signatures? The check-in process, we are currently looking at automated check-in, mobile check-in through iPortal. Difficulty with automated check-in is that there are different regulatory sort of requirements in all the different countries of the world. You know, and there's documentary evidence you've got to give, passports, da-di-da. It's cumbersome as opposed to check-out. So with regard to sort of authenticating the person as a guest at the hotel, we do use our ILink middleware to validate their credentials against the PMS. We may wish, as the gentleman said over there, look to enhance that authentication beyond name and room number, maybe something else. I think that could be a good idea, and thank you for it, that we can implement just to make it even more secure than it is. That's fair enough.
I have no idea. Are we finished? Okay. So for anyone I haven't replied to, apologies, but I'll reply to all of them after this. I'll go through them all and I'll reply to anybody who sent a question. I will reply.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for turning up. Thank you.